It was a great speech. Now he gets a chance to introduce himself to the country. I think this was for him. Was in the first.
I love the line eMAGINeD where he said we need to focus on building bridges in this country, not other countries. I think that will resonate. And you said something very interesting. You thought this was better than Ted Cruz, did you not?
Yeah, I did. I think it's a better speech than Ted Cruz. I think he just boosted himself in the ratings. I think he had a lot of policy ideas as well.
And very quick, very confident. I like trying to think. His parents, they stood up. I like his accent. I think that's charming. Midwesterner. I liked how specific he got. And like a black mock turtleneck. Well done.
Red, white, blue. His life is in blue.
That's right, Todd. Well, we're going to stay right here for Outnumbered Overtime on the web. FoxNews.com/Outnumbered. Click the OT tab. Let us know what you think of the speech. We'll take your questions. We'll see you right back here tomorrow at noon Eastern. Happening Now starts right after the break.
The new day 100 loan has helped thousands of veterans borrow the money they need, pay down debt, and take care of your family. Call us and tell us what you need. We know your character means more than your credit score. Because at New Day USA, you're not a number. You're a veteran. 1-855-371-5854. You may not be a president, but you will be. Whether it's disaster, man-made, or rock like Mother Nature, you need a plan. WiseFoodStores.com's emergency gourmet meals are made in the USA. Delicious, easy to prepare, just add water, and packaged and proportioned perfectly, eliminating waste and creating a shelf life of up to 25 years. Why waste your expertise on an empty stomach? Request your free sample today at WiseFoodStores.com.
I typed my name, and Ancestry opened the door to the world's largest online collection of family history records. Discover your story today at Ancestry.com. For the 51 million of us who may need a different kind of underwear, this is new Depends Silhouette Active Fit. It's slim and smooth, so wearing it is no big deal. Get a free sample of Depend at underwearness.com.
Meet Jill. She thought she'd feel better after seeing her doctor, and she might have, if not for Carl, the identity thief who stole Jill's social security number to open credit cards, ruining Jill's credit and her dream of retirement. Every year, millions of people just like you experience how a little personal information in the wrong hands could wreak havoc on your life. This is identity theft, and once every 2 seconds, someone becomes a victim. LifeLock offers comprehensive identity theft protection. The patented LifeLock identity alert system lets you know about threats to your identity by text, phone, or email. And LifeLock even offers bank account takeover alerts and alerts for your investment and retirement accounts. LifeLock's comprehensive identity theft protection helps guard your social security number, your money, your credit, even the equity in your home. And LifeLock's certified resolution agents are there to help restore your identity if you become a victim of identity fraud. They know what to do. And that's not all. LifeLock stands behind their protection with the power of their $1 million service guarantee. You have so much to protect and nothing to lose when you call LifeLock right now and try 60 days of identity theft protection, risk-free. 60 days, risk-free. Use promo code ONGUARD. Order now and get this document shredder to keep sensitive documents out of wrong hands. A $29 value. Free. Call 1-800-419-8380 and use promo code ONGUARD. Or go to LifeLock.com/OnGuard to try 60 days of LifeLock identity theft protection, risk-free. And get a document shredder free. Call 1-800-419-8380 right now and help protect your identity, your money, and your credit. Call 1-800-419-8380 right now.
Please alert on new reports that the U.S. might soon remove Cuba from the list of state sponsors of terrorism.
Part of the president's plan to normalize relations with the country just as he's about to visit the Caribbean and Latin America. We're monitoring its State Department briefing for updates and covering all the news happening now. It's official. Another Republican is running for president, but some GOP heavyweights are already taking shots at Rand Paul. Can the Kentucky senator get the party on his side and win
Kentucky Senator Rand Paul throwing his hat into the ring moments ago at a rally in Louisville. The Libertarian and Tea Party favorite, hoping to attract young voters as well as establishment Republicans.
If we nominate a candidate who is simply Democrat-light, what's the point? We need to boldly proclaim our vision for America. We need to go boldly forth under the banner of liberty that clutches the Constitution in one hand and the Bill of Rights in the other.
So what are his chances? Joe Trippi is the former campaign manager for Howard Dean. He's worked on 4 other presidential bids and is a Fox News contributor. Mary-Kate Carey is a former speechwriter for President George H.W. Bush, former spokesman for U.S. Attorney General William Barr, and former deputy director of communications in Republican National Committee. So a couple of great minds to assess all of this for us. Mary-Kate, let's start with you. How would you assess the theatrics of that opening speech? It's an important time for any candidate. How did you read it?
I think it's described by all. It was a well-written speech. He was actually pretty good at delivering. And I think there was what we would call in speech writing, kind of a little bit of dog whistling going on. It was not lost on libertarians, for example, that he chose the Galt Hotel. Galt being a tip of the hat to Ayn Rand, who's sort of the godmother of the libertarian movement. He also, that first opening line, "We have come to take our country back," is a classic Tea Party line, instantly recognizable to anybody in the room who's a Tea Partier. I also noticed on the theatrical end that his father was nowhere in the camera range. And I think that was done intentionally. But overall, I would say that was a mainstream Republican speech. A lot more foreign policy than I thought we'd hear from him. And he delivered a real stem winder. It was great.
I'm always happy when they're not both in the room because I can't mix up my Rand Paul and my Ron Paul, which I do on air too many times. Joe, what about it? He's kind of a long shot, I suppose, but if you look at some of the Fox News polling, when asked about which candidates have you have a favorable impression of, Rand Paul does, well, he's kind of in the middle of the pack there. No, I'm sorry, on this particular one. He's number 2 behind Mike Huckabee. 57% have a favorable opinion of Huckabee. 52% of registered Republicans say they have a favorable opinion of Rand Paul. What do you make of that?
Look, I think there's a strong libertarian base within the Republican Party. Maybe it's 20%. He starts with that, I think. And now the question is, can he broaden it out as he starts to broaden out? And will the libertarians stay with him? I mean, the libertarians tend to be more isolationist and non-interventionist. That's where he was a couple of years ago. He's clearly changed that positioning there.
Because he has to get freaking elected.
His announcement speech was a strong one. And I think, look, he really does attract young people to a party that badly needs to attract young people into their following. So if he can bring that to the fore, he's better organized than a lot of the Republicans that are running. New Hampshire has an open primary where those young people could show up and help him. I wouldn't rule him out at this stage. He's somebody to be reckoned with, I believe.
Now let's take a look at that poll that I got mixed up on earlier. This is the one where he is in the middle of the pack. When asked which GOP nominee do you prefer, this is among Republican primary voters. There you see Scott Walker up at the top with 15%, Jeb Bush, Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, Mike Huckabee, and then in the middle of the pack comes Rand Paul at 9%, and then you see the rest of them: Rubio, Christie, Perry, Trump, and another page of lesser preferred candidates. So does an announcement like this, Mary-Kate, does the electricity in the room propel his numbers up from there?
Well, I will say, looking at that list there, John, it reminds me of that country music song, "I've Got Friends in Low Places," and it seems like there's a lot of Republicans in low places, high single digits, low double digits. The good news about that is it's a wide open field and no place to go but up.
Yeah, on the other party, from the other party, there was a guy named Barack Obama who was kind of on nobody's radar, who went on to win the presidency.
Good point. But the thing about an event like today is this is one of the few times in the campaign where the candidate and the campaign can control the message. They chose the location, they write the speech, they're not at the mercy of events like you are so many times in campaigns. They're not responding to breaking news. From now on out, he's going to constantly have to respond to everything that comes up. And this was their one chance to control how they are perceived. I think you'll see next week Marco Rubio, for example, the word is he's going to do it in Miami in front of the Freedom Tower, which is where a lot of the immigrants arrive. Hillary Clinton, a couple years ago in 2012, she announced on a couch with a single camera all by herself, which of course Saturday Night Live had a bit of a heyday with. And so I think she'll probably do something different this time. And but it's their chance to craft how they want to be perceived. And I think Rand Paul did a great job today with his choices.
You know, until Barack Obama was elected president, Joe, this country had gone something like a century without elevating somebody from the Senate to the White House. Lyndon Johnson obviously was the exception, but he served as vice president. Now, I mean, Mike Lee was in Fox this morning joking about the fact that he's about the only Republican senator not running for president. Does that equation matter anymore? Do people are they ready to send senators to the White House?
Well, look, I think a lot of that stems from a real feeling, anti-Washington feeling in the country. It's been there for quite a while. I think that's one of the reasons Rand Paul is running so strongly against Washington. That's the only way for a senator to get there, and it's often hard for somebody who's been there a long time to do that. That won't be, I don't think, is going to be the case with Rand Paul. One of the things, John, about that poll that you showed is, look at with 15 sort of being the top and single digits being at the bottom. 20. This field's so large that 20% could win a state like Iowa, and Rand Paul is definitely within range of doing that. In fact, with this announcement today, we've seen everybody get a bump from their. Ted Cruz got one. We'll see. Rand Paul could move even closer to the front with his speech today.
And as Mary Kate said, he has been taking his message to a lot of unusual places, maybe bringing in some new voters. Mary Kate Carey, Joe Tripp, thank you both.
Thank you.
With you.
Well, John, you mentioned the electricity in the room for Rand Paul. We're going to talk a little bit about the electricity, literally, in Washington, D.C., and some strange headlines just breaking now. What you're watching on your screen is the tape we have from the State Department. There was a briefing underway there, and you see that, well, suddenly the tape freezes and the lights start to go out. The State Department reporting electricity outages in parts of their building, but they're not the only one. According to Reuters, there's a smattering, if you will, of different outages at different key government buildings in Washington, D.C. They include the U.S. Capitol, the Department of Justice, the White House, again, the State Department. Also in Washington, D.C., there are some metro stations, according to Reuters, that are running on emergency lighting. That's according to the city's transportation authority. So right now, we don't have an explanation for why this is happening, but certainly we're taking notice. This is midday in Washington, D.C. There are a lot of press briefings underway, which is why we caught that on tape from the State Department, but we don't have an explanation as to what's going on quite yet. Just reports coming from Reuters and our own staff that's at different key buildings in Washington.
Maybe the government simply didn't pay its bill. Has anybody looked into that?
That's sometimes the most obvious answer.
They shut you down.
The obvious explanation. Anyways, we'll keep an eye on that and see what's happening in Washington. Keep you posted. Again, U.S. Capitol, the Department of Justice, the State Department, and the White House, also different parts of Washington, D.C., experiencing some sort of power outage. Well, in the meantime, Saudi-led airstrikes are hitting rebel targets in Yemen. Military jets bombing a base in the central part of the country. And here you can see the smoke rising from one of the so-called rebel camps targeted in those strikes. Connor Powell is live from our Jerusalem Bureau with more on that. Connor?
Yeah, Jen, as the Saudi airstrikes continue, the advancing Shiite Houthi rebels showing no signs of slowing down or being defeated by the airstrikes. In fact, The Houthi rebels, the Iranian-linked rebels, control more territory today than they did 2 weeks ago when these airstrikes began. And the chaos in Yemen just is only increasing, giving groups like Al-Qaeda even more room to operate. Now, today, Saudi airstrikes targeted a military camp, but they also hit a school, injuring kids as well. The UN estimates more than 500 people have been killed since the Saudis intervened in Yemen, and at least 74 of those are children. Now, with the air campaign showing little in the way of results, there is a growing speculation that maybe the Saudis might try to do some type of ground operation in Yemen. Pakistan's defense minister saying yesterday that they've been asked by Saudi Arabia to contribute soldiers, raising the possibility of a ground operation. Pakistan's parliament still sort of trying to decide whether or not they'll join this Saudi Arabian-led operation, potentially even this ground operation. But it still really isn't clear whether or not these other countries in the sort of Sunni Arab Middle East have pledged their support to be part of this coalition, whether or not they're willing to add troops to a ground operation. There's a lot of tough talk coming from the Sunni Arab countries because of the fear of a growing Iran influence in the Middle East. But right now it is just the Saudis that are using their planes to target these Houthi rebels. Whether or not it expands into a larger war is still the big question, Jenna.
Certainly is. Connor, thank you.
Kenyan students take to the streets in Nairobi demanding answers after the deadly terror attack at a college. This as the military carries out airstrikes on al-Shabaab targets in Somalia. Jennifer Griffin live at the Pentagon with the latest on that. Jennifer.
John, hundreds of Kenyan students took to the streets of Nairobi. They are angry that the Kenyan government was slow to send their elite counterterrorism forces and that hostage siege lasted nearly 12 hours at the university where mostly Christian students were targeted by the 4 gunmen from al-Shabaab.
We are here in solidarity because of fallen comrades. And we want to send a message to the government that issues to the security must be addressed to the latter because us as university students, we're not safe and don't going to keep quiet.
The Kenyan government arrested 5 men suspected of helping the al-Shabaab attackers. Those suspects appeared in court today. They are accused of providing the gunmen with weapons. One of the attackers was the son of a prominent Kenyan